Well, hello, lovers. Welcome to our official week 1 of the companion cohort. It's designed to specifically couple along with your book, 365 Days of Loving You. Oh my goodness. I know some of you probably have started the book already, and that's okay. Some of you may have been waiting for this first video to start your book, and that's okay too. Either way, whether you've started or you're just about to start, these videos are designed to either enhance what you're already doing, confirm something, even if you're weeks ahead. Sometimes when you hear the expectation from the author, it can kind of give you the direction that you might be looking for. But there's really no right or wrong answers on this journey, right? Because this is your love journey. I'm just along for the ride to hold you accountable, to make sure that you're going through your process and discovering your truth. And so each week we're just going to kind of journey through the chapters together, and each week we'll have one chapter that we'll tackle, and then we'll kind of go from there. And then if you have specific questions, you can always address them in our 365 Days of Loving You Facebook community. That is your opportunity to connect with like-minded people. I'm a part of the group as well. And you'd be surprised that a lot of times a question that you have, someone else has as well. So make sure you utilize that. So without further ado, let's get into it. Week 1, I've memorized the title. It's called Remembering Self-Love. So let's get into it. I'm going to read a little bit of at least that first paragraph, because I think it's just such a great way to begin this journey. It brings up some memories. It may bring up some memories for you. It may, again, be confirming in something that you've been thinking. But overall, it's just an opportunity to be awakened to some things that may be lying dormant in you. And so it reads, remembering self-love. How do I love me? Let me count the ways. Says, the world through the eyes of a child is limitless. How many of us remember that? Or even if you have children, you see that. Great expectations of love, success, and best friends fuel hopes and aspirations, but something happens along the path to adulthood that changes the narrative of our lives. When disappointment and failed expectations are not addressed, it can cause bitterness and self-doubt. These seeds of despair grow in places that lack love. The longer we reside in a catatonic state of subconscious or conscious self-pity over what did not go as planned, the more opportunities we miss to live our best, most fulfilled lives. I'm telling you, y'all, now this is a little extra bonus that you get. I had a funeral for my expectations. I didn't bury anything, but I literally had a moment of silence for my expectations, right? And it's an interesting thing, because you should go into your day, your life with some expectation. I have expectation that my car is going to start. I have an expectation that I'm going to be treated with some level of respect throughout the day, right? So we have general expectations, but the problem arises when those expectations then begin to rule our lives, right? And so while I may have an expectation for how my day is going to go, if it decides to go left, that doesn't ruin the trajectory of my life, right? It may not always go as planned, but what happens is when we don't acknowledge that, this was disappointing, or this didn't go as planned. If we don't acknowledge it, then we suppress it, right? And we think we're being the bigger person, but really we're piling disappointment, anger, frustration underneath a rug, and at some point we're going to trip over it, right? And so it's really important, and that's what this chapter is about. Acknowledgement. We don't like to acknowledge certain things, right? Because it brings up old aches, old pains, old frustrations, and vulnerability. Who wants to feel that? That or at least who wants to feel vulnerability when you remember it being taken advantage of? But these exercises are key to complete healing. And so when you go through the rest of this chapter, this chapter, it ends with a prayer and an affirmation for the week. That's the one thing I love about every week. You have an affirmation for the week. And so for this particular week, it says, loving me means remembering the pieces of me I neglected along the way. Because every time you piled a disappointment under the rug, you were neglecting you. Does that make sense? Every time you said, oh, don't worry about it. That's a form of self-neglect, right? And so even if it comes to a point where you can't necessarily interact with that particular person, you still have to acknowledge that pain, that frustration, that anger, and let it go. You have to consciously let it go, or else it piles up. And what once becomes light in our eyes becomes bitterness. It becomes despair, right? It becomes complacency. We're not going to get too deep into this because I don't want to be on here too long. But I definitely want you guys to get something out of that as you either are rereading this chapter, or if it's confirming something that stood up in you when you went through it the first time, or maybe this is your first time. And so again, each one of these weeks are broken up also with a daily guide. And so once you get into your daily guide, you'll see, like, for instance, day 1 in this particular chapter of Remembering You, or Remembering Self-Love, day 1 is to forgive you, right? So we're so ready to, throw everybody else under the bus for leaving us this way, right? And then coming to the notion that, oh, I should forgive them. And we leave ourselves out of it because there's some things that we may have done or may not have done, right? That require acknowledging even within ourselves. And so day 1 is to forgive you. Write a letter of forgiveness to your past self for not meeting your expectations. This was a tough one for me. This is where I had that funeral. Okay. Yeah. Write a letter of forgiveness to your past self for not meeting your expectations in specific areas of your life. Woo! And then I give you guys some examples. And some of these are real things that I had to talk to myself. I had to say it to myself, right? And so day 2 moves into forgiving those who didn't love you the way you deserved. It may not just be a boyfriend. It could be a mother, father, brother, sister, people who hurt you along the way. Like, spill it out. Be 100 with yourself so that you can become 100% whole, right? And so I give some examples even with letters with that. Like, I give you a group letter example, and I also give you an individual letter example. The group letter, like, just the way it starts out. It's to everyone who hurt, disregarded, or rejected me. How could you? Okay? Like, be real. I mean, write these letters as though you are literally speaking to these people. For some of you, you may be bold enough to mail it, to send it. For others, you may decide you want to burn it, and it gives you examples of what you can do to let it go. And that's your day 3, when you let it go after we do all of that. And then that's a lot of work to do. And so again, although we do have a rhythm of what we're trying to keep up with, you still have every right, for lack of a better phrase, to move at your own pace, right? Because some of these things are heavy and you may need to process, and that's okay. And that's why I love with day 5 and with every chapter, there is a day where you just rest and reflect. Just rest and reflect, right? And then 6, just because I know life, and we'll get to day 6 and be like, I didn't do anything. And it says, if you found that you haven't completed the task for this week, use today to catch up. Remember that the journey of self-discovery is yours. So set your own pace and be kind to yourself. Because I don't want you guys to feel reprimanded. This is not a boot camp, right? We're just in this together to unpack, to discover some things that we may have pushed to the side, right? To ultimately get to a beautiful place of love for oneself. And then day 7, there's always a congratulations, and we kind of reflect again on what we've accomplished for the week. And so again, each chapter is really broken into weeks. And so it's so much to unpack, and just literally acknowledging that's all you got to do for the week. I'm not going to throw something else on top of it to compile more and more and more and more and more. Just go at your own pace, right? Don't be surprised at what is revealed. The thing that you think you were upset about may not even be the thing. I can't tell you how many times through my own journey that I came to a conclusion like, I've been mad at this thing or this person or this place for this long, and it wasn't even that. It was when blah blah said this to me when I was 8. Right? So enjoy the journey. I don't want to lie and say that every chapter is going to be easy. There are going to be some things that challenge you, right? But that's what I'm here for, to connect with you, to inspire you, and just to push you forward and say, yes, you can go forward. Yes, you can do this. Yes, you are worthy of love. And so I hope that was inspirational in some way for this first chapter. We'll be chatting every Sunday, unpacking what we discover, through each week. And there are some weeks I can't wait to get to. Color Me Joyful, and there's one week where we're just gonna laugh. Like, we're going to find things that make us laugh. I'm talking about belly laugh, right? And then there's gonna be some things where it's going to be some inner work, and there's gonna be some things where we're focusing on our spirituality, focusing on our sexuality, focusing on all aspects of you. Okay? You are so worthy. So I want you to repeat this after me. Number 1, I am worthy of the love that I so freely give to everyone else. Your turn. Okay, let's try this last one. I love you, and say your name, so I'll say my name. I love you, Brandy, and there's nothing you can do about it. Say it. You. Don't say Brandy. All right, I love you guys. I didn't want the video to be over 10 minutes because we can really, really get into this. But I'm so excited again to be on this journey with you. Thank you for trusting me. I can't wait to see you next week. Be blessed.